All right, folks, we got a breaking news update. It is October 10th, 2024, and Ripple has officially filed their cross appeal in this SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, folks. XRP did bounce on the news. I'm going to show you the charts, and then we're going to take a look at this official statement from the chief legal officer of Ripple, Stuart Alderati. Let's get started here by taking a look, though. Little bit of a pop here for XRP, up to 54.5 cents, back down to 538 right now. We'll be watching it closely, basically breaking back out to this level right here. The level that we traded back at just a few days ago on Monday, 54.5 cents. So nothing crazy, not a real breakout here yet, but we did wake up this morning. A little bit of excitement for XRP while the rest of the market is back down, including Bitcoin. But let's take a look at it. Here we go, folks. Official breaking. Ripple has filed a cross appeal of Judge Torres' judgment entered on August 7, 2024 from James Phelan. God bless James for keeping us up to date throughout this entire lawsuit, which God willing will come to an end sometime here soon. But it looks like this is going to be extended another year or so, as both the SEC has appealed and now Ripple is filing their notice to appeal. So from this point, when the SEC filed their appeal, you get 14 days, I believe, to file your official appeal. So it was a notice of appeal that they submitted. Now they have to file their official appeal. They had 14 days to do so. So I don't know how much time they have left. I think they still have another week or so. But Ripple didn't wait. They've now filed their appeal. I think that they had 14 days to cross appeal as well. And so now Ripple has officially filed their appeal as well. Now the clock is ticking to see what the SEC is appealing on and to see what Ripple is going to be appealing this case on. Once again, there's 5 things that really can be appealed on in this case, which is the penalty, the injunction, the disgorgement. Basically, there was no disgorgement, no harm, no foul. The injunction, it was very broad, placed on Ripple by the judge. Basically just said, don't violate Section 5. Very, very basic general statement. The penalty was the $125 million. And then there was 2 types of sales that the SEC can appeal on, which was programmatic and other distributions, which were ruled to not be investment contracts. So those are the 5 things, is the 2 types of sales, and then the penalty, injunction, and disgorgement. Now, what Ripple can appeal on would be the sales to institutions. Those were deemed investment contracts. And so that's likely what the Ripple is going to appeal on. The other thing that they could appeal on would be the penalty as well. So we'll be watching now. The clock starts ticking from this point. I think that they both will have another week for the SEC and then 2 weeks from today probably for Ripple to submit their official appeal. And then we'll circle back and cover what they're actually appealing on. In the meantime, here's the statement from Stuart Alderati. The SEC lost on all key points. That's why we appealed. I love Stu. He doesn't back down. This is how you defend yourself against a bully right here, folks. You just start out by laying down the fact very simply. The SEC lost on all key points. That's why we appealed. Today, Ripple filed a cross appeal. That's why they appealed. Right? That's why the SEC appealed, because they lost on every point. Today, Ripple filed a cross appeal to ensure nothing's left on the table. Let's go for the full entire victory, including the argument that there can't be an investment contract without there being essential rights and obligations found in a contract. Importantly, the SEC has already said they aren't appealing the ruling that XRP itself isn't a security. They even apologized in another case for suggesting a token itself could be a security. Uh-oh. You think that gets to be a little bit of supplemental information for Ripple's defense? You betcha, along with some of the other cases as well. That's the law, and an appeal on these other issues doesn't change it. So XRP, in and of itself, is not a security. That's the law of the land. Last year, the SEC unsuccessfully tried to take an early appeal of the rulings that Ripple's XRP sales on exchanges and Ripple's other XRP distributions, like to employees and developers, weren't securities. They'll likely go after these again, and they will lose on both again. We look forward to the Federal Court of Appeals finally putting a stake in the heart of Gensler's misguided attack on our industry. Now, on the very same day, we have the SEC Commissioner Mark Uyeda going on Fox Business to call the SEC's crypto approach a disaster for the whole industry. one of two commissioners, Mark and Hester Pierce, that have actually been reasonable when it comes to wanting to regulate cryptocurrency, right? Being more responsible, wanting to go after the real frauds and the scammers. And meanwhile, Gary Gensler-led SEC, a case was originally filed by Jay Clayton, who's definitely part of the club. We know his involvement. We've shown his ties. And we're about to blow this whole thing open with the XRP documentary. I was really hoping that the case was going to be coming to its conclusion. No appeals were going to be filed. And then we were going to release this XRP documentary and shine the light on ETHgate and the the complete and total story of this corruption. Unfortunately for the SEC, we're going to go beat them up again in the courts. Ripple and their legal assassins are just going to strike them down and beat them up in the courts. And I think that the Court of Appeals, too, the Federal District Court of Appeals, Second Circuit, is going to, I think, really handedly smack down the arguments that the SEC is trying to make. As Stu points out, they've had to apologize in other cases for trying to push as far as they did, saying that these tokens in and of themselves are security. They know that's not precedent. They know that's not law. And that's completely ridiculous. And as this commissioner right here, Mark, is saying, it's been a disaster for the whole industry. Not only has it been a disaster, the damages are massive. So we get to now cite our own SEC commissioners. We can take their own words in the defense that we're using against them with our red folder and a conversation about the damages done to the XRP community, which opens up a broader conversation about the damages done to the entire crypto sector. As Mark says, a disaster for the whole industry, which brings us and leads us into another conversation about broader corruption in our capital markets. And the regulators that are supposed to be the cop on the beat, they're always late. They don't stop or save anybody from losing money, but they show up after the fact and pat themselves on the back as if they've accomplished something after the money's already been lost and the scams and the pump and dumps have already blown up. We now get to use their own words in our defense about the damages being absolutely massive. But once again, we're trying to get to a broader conversation about saving this country. If we don't have free market capitalism, if we don't have free markets with clear rules of the road for us to invest, raise capital, build businesses, we don't have a level playing field. We don't have anything. That's what this whole opportunity in America is all about. Now, continuing on, all of this, and it's like, this is what I think is coming at Ripple Swell Conference, is that they're going to be showing you and revealing that nothing's slowing down. Despite them filing an appeal, despite the SEC appealing and keeping this case dragging on, the partnerships, the adoption, the growth, that's not stopping. In fact, it's only accelerating. With CNBC reporting on it this morning, Ripple launches crypto storage services for banks in bid to diversify. Okay, so can the Twitter police and all of the XRP community fact checkers, can you guys now fact check CNBC for saying that banks are about to use Ripple's custody service? Because I know that we're not allowed to say that Ripple's partnered up with banks, even though they're partnered up with banks for cross-border payments, and now, according to CNBC, for their custody services as well. And now, of course, we already knew this. We've been talking about this, but the Twitter police have been trying to fact check us and say, oh, no, this institution doesn't count as a bank because technically they're not a bank entity and da-da-da-da-da, right? Institutions, banks, payment providers, we're working with all of them, including banks, including many central banks, which many other crypto projects can't even get a central bank to pick up the phone. They'd get laughed out of the room. They'd say, security, get these clowns out of here. As we're seeing in the rest of the space, these guys are trying to sell a new financial system. They're wearing masks. They're doing Ethereum dances and raps. And this is supposed to be the new financial system. You can't pitch a new financial system. You can't pitch anything to anybody covering your face up. You're not going to get anywhere. And so the point of this is that despite the appeal, despite everything that's going on, the headwinds against us, Ripple's not stopping. CNBC on the report. This is for banks. CoinDesk wanting to join the hype. Just like all these mainstream crypto outlets. When it's time to be favorable towards Ripple, when we start to get a little bit of excitement, they're all jumping on the bandwagon and they're hyping this thing up more so than anybody. Ripple has introduced new functionality to its custody service, looking to offer crypto businesses bank-grade technology for securing digital assets. The announcement lifted the price of XRP. So CoinDesk reporting on it, noting that it lifted the price of XRP, pump it up. This is where we're at. This is how it had to be. They came after us first. We put together a defense. We've won on all the points that mattered. That's why they appealed. And they have no shame, and they have unlimited taxpayer dollars, seemingly unlimited taxpayer dollars to fund their campaign against us, and the end is coming. And I think that they know the end is coming. I think that the end is coming no matter who gets elected. Trump's been very clear about how swiftly he's going to move to fire Gary Gensler and shift the SEC. The other side, I think, is having to recognize themselves, too, that it's been reckless, it's been out of control, and this shouldn't be an issue that they want to stand on, like Elizabeth Warren has made it. And so now we're seeing both sides of the aisle discredit Elizabeth Warren, discredit those that want to shut this down, and saying, hey, let's come together, let's pass legislation for stablecoins. Maxine Waters saying that we need to do a grand new deal for stablecoins. This is what's coming. Ripple's already taken on the headwinds. The XRP community's already taken on those headwinds, and we've pushed through. We've gone through the storm. Huge shout out, by the way, to have to say huge shout out to Florida. Everybody that just rode out the storm, praying for you guys. I know we're still getting reports now of the damage is done, but thankfully it did cool off the storm a little bit. A lot of damage is still done down there, and I'm sure there was still some loss of life. So we're praying for the folks down there. But as far as relating it back to the XRP community, Ripple, XRP, this whole story, we've already been through the storm. We're about to be on the other side of this thing, smooth sailing, and then we can really start to pick up speed, right? We'll get that tailwind pushing us as we have a competitive advantage in this space. That's going to be realized through XRP price action, this bull run, and into the future 5 to 10 years out as our thesis plays out on XRP. It's a beautiful spot to be in. I'm glad to see that Ripple has appealed. You want to go at it? This is how it has to be. Let's do it. Nothing but legal assassins in class from Ripple as they're about to go dismantle the SEC's arguments completely. And who knows? Maybe they'll even get the investment contracts overturned, some of them. Maybe they'll get a penalty reduced. We'll see. In the meantime, if you appreciate what we're doing, please make sure you like this video, tap it, smack it for me. Appreciate that. And if you can help me out by sharing it out far and wide. And if you're new here, make sure you've subscribed, hit that notification bell before you head on over to ZachRector.com and check out what the rest of our community's been up to. I appreciate all of you guys for stopping by. We'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.